Hey all, I hope that you're doing well today or tonight. I've got another ramble for y'all as per usual this evening. I apologize if my voice is a little raspier or not as level as normal. Did a lot of talking today, so it's a little rough around the edges. But anyhow, I've mentioned in the past few videos, I feel, maybe not the past few specifically, but over the past few months, I've mentioned that time is moving very, very quickly for me, has been moving very, very quickly for me. And a little bit of a subcategory of that is losing track of time. Now, I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but I've had it where I'll be doing something and I swear only 30 minutes have gone by. I'll be doing a chore, or maybe I'm doing some leather work or reading a book or whatever it may be. And it feels like it hasn't been all that long. Maybe, like I said, 30 minutes or so. But then I'll check the time, and it's been multiple hours. That has also been happening to me quite a bit over the past month or so, particularly while I'm at work. I have quite a bit of downtime at work, so after I get everything finished for the evening, that is, and so I like to read quite a bit. That's when I get a bulk of my reading done. And my God, time will fly by. I swear I'll have enough time to read a really good portion of a book, but I end up doing things like, I'll make some tea before I start reading so I can drink it while I read. And then I'm like, I've got to check such and such, online real quick. And little distractions and whatnot, they add up. And then before I know it, I've got far less time to read, which really, really sucks. Tonight, however, I was able to stay more focused in, and I ended up reading a good bit. I say a good bit. I think it was only like 70, 80 pages, something around there. It was a good amount, but it wasn't like I didn't take a chunk out of a book or anything. I remember one time in particular, I was reading the Harry Potter books for the first time. This was a long while ago. But I remember being obsessed with those books. That was one of the first books, a series of books, where I was able to just read for hours and hours on end. I mean, and time would really, really pass by then. I could not get enough of it. I remember specifically The Deathly Hallows, Part 2, the last and final book in the series. I remember I was reading through that, and I I mean, it's a pretty big book. I don't remember the exact page count. I want to say maybe somewhere around like 800 or so pages, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But a pretty good sized book, you know. And I had read through about half of it over the past maybe few days when I was reading it. But then it was a Saturday, I remember, and it was storming outside. What better time to read than when it's raining, you know? And so I got my book and was like, yeah, I'll read a chapter or two. I kid you not, I read the entire second half of that book in one sitting without any breaks. I was so invested in this story, and I've seen the movies before I read the books, so, you know, I knew it was gonna happen, but the writing was just so good. And yeah, I mean, hundreds of pages, probably 400 or so pages, just in one sitting. I didn't get up to get a snack. I didn't get up to use the restroom. And I mean, it probably took me probably 5 or 6 hours or so. It was a long reading session. And I mean, no, probably longer than that. It was a while. It was a long while. And it felt like no time at all. It felt like 20 minutes. It felt like the blink of an eye. I mean, when I had started reading, it was still plenty light out. And when I stopped reading, it was dark. Completely dark out. Sorry, that's guts with this collar on. But, I mean, I was so mesmerized by it. But it's not just with reading, you know, I mean, with so many different things. They say, you know, time flies when you're having fun, and I don't think anything could be truer than that. I mean, it's just, that always seems to be the case. When I'm having a good time, time just goes by way too quick. And I'll know that it's happening too. I'll be aware of it. I'll be like, oh, I've got to enjoy this because it's gonna go by like that, you know? And so in the moment, I'm aware, and I'll try to take it all in and savor the moment. But even with that, still, I can't help but feel like it goes by a little too quickly, you know? It just goes by so fast, especially when I'm hanging out with my good friends, you know? We always, I swear, 90% of the time I spend with friends, I spend laughing, especially in person. It's just always laughing and laughing and laughing, you know? And I feel like time especially flies by when you're laughing. That is like a whole nother thing. When you're having fun, it's like a 2 times speed boost. When you're having fun and laughing, that is like a 12 times boost, I swear. It's so quick. Those are the best memories, though. I love looking back on, like, the nights or the days where I'm with a bunch of people, a bunch of my friends, and everyone is just having a great time. The jokes are flowing, you know, you get in kind of a flow state. You're just, whatever you say, can't miss. It's gonna be funny no matter what, and everyone's laughing, and truly, truly the best feeling. I love that kind of thing. And it doesn't get much better than that. Kind of going back to losing track of time while reading, specifically though. Not necessarily losing track, but I don't know about you, but when I had first started reading, I could picture what was happening in my head to an extent. It was fairly vivid, but nothing too crazy. The more and more time that I spend reading, the more and more vivid my imagination or the image in my head gets. I mean, these days, when I'm reading something, it usually takes me kind of a page or two to kind of get in the swing of things and really focus on the story without spacing out a little. But once I get on that roll, I can see things so clearly now, imagine things so clearly now. It's so strange. It's almost like a trance-like thing, because I can just picture what's happening so clearly and vividly. I might as well be watching a movie, So strange. I didn't know that kind of thing would happen the more you read, but it certainly does, for me at least. I don't know if everyone gets that. If you're an avid reader, I would love to hear if that's something that kind of has happened to you the more and more that you've read. I'm curious to know. I feel like I always get on the topics of books. I'm really sorry. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to that. But speaking of books, normally I've talked about it before, I have a whole bunch of bookmarks because there's so much leather, scrap, and cut off. It's perfect for making bookmarks. So I have a bunch of those. But I also tend to use the receipt that came with the book. It gets the job done, right? And it's free. Comes with the book. So I use that quite a bit. But like I've been mentioning, I plan to get into bookbinding pretty soon here. Probably at the end of this month or start of next month. And I would like to practice my leather tooling a bit more before I dive into making custom leather-bound books. So I figured a good place to practice, a good way to get some experience under my belt, some more experience under my belt, and get a bit more comfortable would be to tool some bookmarks. I think that'll be really cool. So I'm gonna make a whole bunch of custom designed bookmarks with all sorts of different tooling patterns in it. And for those of you who don't know, tooling is kind of like leather engraving, except it's not necessarily engraved, it's stamped into the leather. You do what's called casing the leather, which really is just a fancy word for getting it wet. You take a sponge and you just lightly moisten the leather. You let it dry slightly until it's cool to the touch. Big groan from Guts. Thank you, Guts. And then you can start tooling the leather. Now to tool it, you have a variety of different metal stamps, different shapes, sizes, purposes. And then you have your maul, which is just a fancy mallet, basically. And you tap the stamp with the maul into the leather. And then you get all sorts of designs. I mean, the world is your oyster. You can tool anything you like into leather if you're skilled enough. If it's something that can be drawn on paper, it's something that can be tooled onto leather. So the possibilities are infinite, never-ending, really. So I think tooling some bookmarks is a really good place to start, because they're small little things and it's cut off leather anyway. So if I mess up, it's really no skin off my back. It can't be used for anything else regardless. And even if I do mess up, the shape is still going to be good enough for a bookmark, so I can use it anyway. It might not be the prettiest bookmark, but it'll do. I've done leather tooling before, but what I'm looking to learn and teach myself is a little bit more in-depth than what I've done. So it'll take a little bit of practice, I'm sure, but I know I can do it with time. I'm very excited. Very, very excited. Oh, I had a thought along that note, but I forgot what I was going to say. I hate that feeling so much. Losing your train of thought. It's one of the most frustrating experiences I feel that this world has to offer. There's not a whole lot worse than that. Sorry for the banging and stuff. Some people are moving around, but losing your train of thought, man. Have you ever had where you lose your train of thought in kind of a critical moment? Maybe not critical, but let's say, for example, this is kind of a funny one, but let's say you're in an argument with somebody. Maybe, for argument's sake, you get in an argument about what the best color is. And you're making your argument and you're listing your points. And then there's one really, really big point that you're working towards, but you have to set it up with other smaller points. And as you're making those smaller points, you forget the overall picture, the big picture, because you lost your train of thought. That's happened to me quite a few times. It's not pleasant. It makes you look pretty silly. I certainly did. I looked like a fool. And they weren't serious. I say arguments. It wasn't like out of anger, but debates rather. And I've certainly lost the plot quite a few times while arguing for my side. Oh man, that reminds me of a story. When I was a lot younger, in middle school specifically, I want to say this was when I was in 7th grade, I had to give a presentation in my English class. Now back then, I was really, really bad at public speaking. It scared the hell out of me. It made me so very nervous, to the point that I would actually skill that I trained up over time, and now I'm actually very good at public speaking. But back then, it was terrible. Train wreck. Every time I get so nervous. Like I said, uncontrollable shaking. Like, not even slight enough to where no one would notice. I mean, it was bad. My knees would turn to jelly, so they'd be wobbling. I'd look so ridiculous. I'd be sweating bullets. Terrible time. And then obviously people would notice and would laugh, which would make me more nervous. And then I would start shaking and sweating more. It was a vicious cycle. But anyhow, I was presenting something. I don't really remember. I think it was on Animal Farm. That seems about right. And so I was giving my presentation about whatever Animal Farm related thing I was talking about. And sure enough, I mean, I'm shaking violently. And we had school iPads at the time. I think maybe it was a laptop. I don't remember. But I had it up there with me because it had my notes on it. And I was holding it in front of me. I didn't have like a podium or a stand. I was just holding it up. And, you know, I'm giving my presentation. I'm shaking violently. Like, I mean, it was hard to read off of the laptop because I was shaking so hard, so the words are moving around. And I'm sweating and people are obviously noticing. And I was like this close to passing out. I almost fainted in front of everybody because I was so nervous. My ears started to ring and my vision started to narrow in. I was getting black on the sides of my vision. Those of you who fainted before know the feeling. You know, it got so close. I mean, my vision was like pinpricks at one point. It was like all dark, 95% dark. And somehow, thank God, I managed to pull myself back from the brink and not faint. But I mean, while I was in the middle of trying to not pass out in front of my peers, I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit because I was so focused on just trying to stay awake. And so I completely lost track of where I was. Now, it wasn't a speech that was given or a presentation or whatever it was, word for word. I remember I just had like bullet points, you know, to kind of go off of. But I completely lost my spot. I don't remember which bullet point I had left off at and which ones I had already talked about because my brain wasn't getting much blood to it. And it just made me panic more because I locked up. I completely locked up. And I just stood there for a good 10-15 seconds just looking at everybody. Super nervous. Finally, I just chose a random bullet point down the list way too far. So my presentation ended up not being long enough because I skipped a ton of the content that I had set up. It really was not pretty, not at all. Not to throw any shade at my teacher at the time, but I wasn't a teacher, but I was a substitute teacher for about a year, quite some time ago. And I gotta say, it was a little messed up that she didn't, like, step in at all during that presentation, because I very clearly was not doing so hot. If I was substitute teaching and it was a presentation day, I've subbed for those before, and I see a kid up there who is quaking. He's got wobbly knees and he's sweating bullets, and then he just completely locks up for that much time. I would probably try to gracefully, get him out of there and let him sit down. But no, she just let me sit in it, just wallow in it, which, well, you know what? Actually, no, I take it back. I appreciate her for letting me kind of figure it out. That was an important lesson to learn. I take it back. I think she did the right thing, actually. Yeah, I'm thankful she did that. It taught me a lot. I will say, after that, I specifically requested that for the rest of the year, I was allowed to sit down while presenting. I would still be in front of everybody, but I'd have a chair, and that way I could at least stay conscious. Because I mean, seriously, I was right on the edge of just falling on my face. It was terrible. Terrible, terrible. Passing out is not a fun experience. It's so embarrassing. Because, well, it's especially embarrassing for me. Because when I pass out, I, like, oh God, I groan while I'm unconscious, so I just make really weird sounds. And I also, according to the people who have seen me faint before, I twitch violently, like it looks like I'm having a seizure on the floor. So, yeah, it's quite the spectacle, and yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. It's a little hard to socially recover from fainting in front of somebody, especially in middle school. Oh man, I already know what tomorrow's video is gonna be. I did faint one time in middle school. Well, I fainted a couple times, but the first time I ever fainted was in middle school, and it's a good story. Tomorrow is gonna be a story time video of my first time fainting. It's so embarrassing. Such an embarrassing story. And also, again, I've never fainted before that. So, I remember waking up so confused. I had no idea what happened. Oh, God. I'm kind of excited to talk about it. It's funny now that it's been so long, but at the time, it was the most embarrassing thing. I did not hear the end of that for a very, very long time. Anyhow, it's about that time to end this video. I've talked your ear off enough. I hope you're looking forward to tomorrow's story time. I'm actually really excited for that now. Anyhow, I hope that you have a great rest of your day or night, and that you stay safe out there. Have a good one, y'all.